As we dive into the election season, the economy is doing Obama no favors. I'm Allen Barton. Stand by for Front Page. Joining me in studio is Brian Calle, opinion columnist for the Orange County Register, and Don Watkins, a fellow at the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights. Forgive us the black background and the Charlie Rose look today. We're just having some problems with our computer that generates those fabulous backgrounds for us. Reuters reports that U.S. manufacturing grew at its slowest pace in 11 months, and unemployment figures, well, they remain unchanged. So, Brian, according to recent poll numbers, Romney and Obama are essentially neck and neck within margin of error. Obama made his famous statement in 2009 that if he doesn't lick this economy, he's looking at a one-term proposition. What do you think is going on here?
I still think it's a 50-50 toss-up. I think as the economy gets worse, President Obama's chances of re-election get worse. But I think that Mitt Romney also has to give voters a reason to vote for him. One of the problems with Mitt Romney is he still comes off as detached or not in touch with many middle-class citizens in our country and poor citizens in our country, and independent voters in particular. And if he doesn't somehow come up with a message that shows that he understands their needs and understands the economic issues they're facing, I think that he's still going to be in trouble as well. But again, if the economy continues the dip, then I don't know that there's anything that could save President Obama.
Don, in terms of this dipping economy, it's frustrating because it just sort of seems, sometimes I think everyone knows exactly what would make the economy run well. If you actually make real cuts in government spending and real cuts in taxation and real liberalization of business practices and hiring and firing, et cetera, everyone knows that your growth rate spikes up if you do those things, but they're just unwilling to do those things because they don't like the fact that someone's going to get a tax cut. What do you think of what's going on actually in the economy and why these numbers are stuck where they are?
Well, I think there's no question that what you said is right. We've hit that home again and again. But let's remember, to be fair, they do have an alternative explanation, and that's the idea is there's just not enough demand in the economy. It's frozen up, and what we need to do is unlock that with gobs of government spending. Well, look, we've gotten gobs of government spending. That money comes from somewhere. Where does it come from? It's taken out of the hands of people who would otherwise be using and investing it. So I think it's
like your unborn grandchildren.
Yeah. So I think it's a false narrative, but it at least has an element of plausibility. Hey, Keynes did okay with his career. Mm-hmm. So I think what needs to happen is you need to see people, including Romney, make an argument, explain clearly to people why that is nonsense and why what's really going on is that American businessmen and entrepreneurs are being frozen out of the market through fear, through regulation, through taxation, and through government spending.
And I think, if I could add to that CNN had a great report, I think it was on Thursday, that said that for every stimulus dollar spent from 2008 until today, that it cost $810,000 for each job created.
Yeah, I mean, that's efficient use of the taxpayer dollar, right? Yeah. Hey, I'd like to get 800. I wonder what the salary is, though. Like, so you realize how much gets clogged in just the workings of government. Brian, I'll go back with you. Heritage details, though, that in North Dakota, they got a 3% unemployment rate. 3%. And the oil fields are leading the way. There's a lot of oil and gas exploration up there, and I'm not meaning to say that that's the one factor in North Dakota about why they have low unemployment. But what do you think in terms of the idea of energy as a sector that could be encouraged or let loose? Certainly, there's a lot of restraints on it that could help this unemployment rate.
Well, I think North Dakota has a lot of things going for it. One of the things is obviously energy. Another is the regulatory environment. Also, taxation in North Dakota is lower than places, especially like California. But I think energy is an important point because the Obama administration has been very hostile to the energy industry in particular. We see that in California as well with Governor Brown. And in states where you're allowing traditional energy sources to be used and developed, you're seeing economic boom. I mean, if there's a boom town in California, in the United States, it's Dakota, it's North Dakota. And so I think that you have to have a situation where the Obama administration may believe deeply that, hey, green energy is a wave of the future and it will be a part of our economy. But today, we are still working with traditional energy sources, and that's what's going to drive our economy.
Don, what about the sort of moral and ethical underpinnings of this? Because we can certainly argue on points of efficacy. You can point to this such and such a country made cuts, lowered taxation, simplified everything, and look at their growth rates. And then the liberals will come back and say, yeah, but these are the tried and true policies of the evil Bush years, and we know that doesn't work. We can't go in that direction. We have to go in a fair direction. But it feels like philosophically, underneath that, there are underpinnings that no one is addressing on either side, because they just argue efficacy this way, efficacy that way. What would you want to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say look at the founding fathers and how they debated. They did not come out with 10 studies from think tanks going, you know, it seems we can increase GDP by not taking people's property. They said, no, you have a right to live your own life, and that means if you earn a lot of wealth or if you earn a little wealth, it's yours, and we don't have a right to take it. Nobody has a right to take it. Their whole conception of what America was about was the idea of you're free, and economically that means capitalism. And so it's true that if we move in that direction, we'll get more jobs, we'll get more economic growth. But the justification is, who the heck are they to tell you what to do with your wealth and your life?
Yeah, it reminds me of a story. My father-in-law is Korean, came over here, emigrated, I think in his 40s, you know, after a pretty successful career in Korea. And at one point I asked him, I said, what do you like so much about America? And he said, America, no racism. And I went, no racism? I mean, there's plenty of racism. I mean, there's black against white and Hispanic against this and Asians against that. He goes, not that. That's stupidity. No, stupidity everywhere. No racism from government. You come, you work hard, you make money, you keep it. He goes, no place on planet like that. And I went, you know, and having, of course, been born and raised in the system, to have someone outside the system say, that's what he means by no racism from the government. Yeah, and you wonder, are we going to get back to that kind of system where people can go, hey, you make your money, you keep it. There's no other place on the planet like that. All right, for Brian and Don, I'm Allen Barton. You've been watching Front Page.